If you've ever had
So you will eat bugs and you'll be happy too. Because they'll do whatever the government tells them. And now the government, of course, with climate change and food shortages that they're all responsible for, or telling you is happening when it's not, are going to give them the power to tell you that you need to eat bugs. Let alone, in our entire lifetime, probably here in the world, it's very rare that many people turn to bugs for health purposes, to eat bugs, starvation maybe. But they're using a combination of both, how it's healthy to eat bugs and how, we're going to force it on your kids because that's how sick and insane we are. And that's exactly what's going on in Wales. I'll show you more of that in a second. This is shared on the website by a subscriber, Sean Fitzpatrick, who posts a lot of great stuff. Everybody's sharing great stuff over there. And I just uploaded a video about Texas, 2 fathers, separate actors, same son, lots of other stuff, how they're going to close down the school, or they're talking about doing it, which is another common thing that we constantly see in these ops, is that we see them shut the schools down. It's pretty much just like wiping the scene of a crime from, anybody ever looking into it or checking out what they say has happened and seeing that nothing, those types of things. They do it all the time. It's happened at many other of these same type of events. So that video is up on the website exclusively at callfornuprising.com. It's $2.99 a month. It's 10 cents a day. It's the price of 1 cup of coffee for the entire month. It's actually cheaper than that. So I recommend everybody get over there at some point because the censorship's going to continue on here on YouTube. It comes and goes and ebbs and flows. I wasn't trying to be poetic, but that's what it does. And there's going to be another round of it. So definitely check out the website if you haven't. So this is the story, ladies and gentlemen, of how your life got twisted upside down. But kids are exploring eating bugs for an alternative protein at school. Children are used to eating hot dinners such as fish and chips, spaghetti bolognese, and lasagna. But children at 4 primary schools in Wales are set to take part in workshops organized by scientists and teachers. Wicked people. Well, the scientists at least. The teachers, some of them don't even know what they're doing. They're just really indoctrinating children with lies and just things that aren't real. But unfortunately, a lot of the teachers don't know that. But the scientists know exactly what they're doing. And they're informing them about the benefits of eating alternative protein like bugs. So they're continuing to tell us that meat is bad. And don't listen to this and say something like, I'm vegan and meat is horrible. I mean, please spare me. If you want to eat meat, eat meat. You don't want to eat meat, don't eat meat. You don't got to push your lifestyles onto other people. But you're going to tell me that you'd rather eat bugs than meat? You think it's safer and better for you to eat bugs than meat? Now, we know that they don't want people to eat meat. They don't want people to get nutrition from meat. And some people are like, you don't get any nutrition from meat, which I personally believe is not true. I believe you do. Some people believe you don't. And everybody likes to debate and argue about this stuff. I don't have time for that. There's too much crazy stuff going on in the world. But nobody's going to sit here and tell me that it's better to eat flies than to eat a filet mignon. Okay? But you see, they don't want you to eat this stuff. They don't want you to get proper nutrients and things like that. They want you to eat things that they grow in a laboratory, like plant-based meats, which are loaded with estrogen so they can soy you up so you could be confused and weak and pathetic. And then they want to say, well, here's your little special meal this week. Instead of nachos and cheese, you're going to get worms and rice. Oh, you'll be lucky if you get rice. Probably worms and grass or worms and manure at this point. These people target children constantly, and they're indoctrinating children. This is what I've been talking about. I did a video last week. Children are what they're targeting, and it's not just because of all their perverse, things that they're into. It's because their brains are molding. They want them to be completely all that, like the same way all we know is this world that we grew up in of lies, and then we had to break free from it, and then we deal with people in our life the same age or that we've always known that don't break free. They just believe in the lies. Well, these kids, all they're going to know is like, oh, eating bugs is normal. So when they're 20 years old, they're going to be like, what's the big deal? I've been eating bugs since I was 5. Why is that sickening to you? Because it is disgusting, but, they won't know any better because if it's all they know, it's all they know. This is how a lot of the celebrities who raise their children through trauma-based mind control, they end up being handlers themselves when they grow up and doing the same thing to their kids because they don't know any better. And it's a vicious cycle. Well, they do it with everything. And this is something where people are like, well, it's just bugs. It's just, it's unbelievable. They're convincing people that there's food shortages when people like me and you are constantly exposing the fact that they're doing deliberate food shortages, right? What did we just have? We had another place burned down where hundreds of thousands of chickens were killed in America. Just another manufacturing plant. Like, I guess this is common. So now there's another shortage. I just covered how there was the bird flu. So there's a shortage of chickens and poultry, right? How the trains aren't delivering fertilizer, how trucks aren't delivering this, how we can't have wheat because Ukraine, and people still aren't suspicious that they're deliberately creating food shortages, that they've been telling us for years that there's going to be mass food shortages. Why? Because you're telling people to burn their crops because they might get C19 on it. Oh, we got to burn our crops. We would rather people starve to death or starve of dehydration than, catch the sneeze, the common cough. Nothing that makes any sense to people who critically think, or even just, you don't even need to critically think, just think. Anyone who turns their brain on for the day, instead of getting up and being on autopilot, get up, turn your brain on and see what they're doing. You don't need to be a quote unquote conspiracy theorist. You don't even need to think deeply about it. Just activate your brain, right? We do most stuff during the day in like an alpha, it's like an alpha state of mind. Like you tie your shoes. Do you even think and remember when you tied your shoes today? No. Because it's like routine. That's why they have everybody on this routine. Get up, go to the, whatever. If you go to the gym or get up and have your breakfast, shower, go to work, come home, have your dinner, go to bed, rinse, repeat, right? It's just going through the motions. So your brain is never thinking. And then when your brain does catch information coming in, you're getting surrounded from propaganda all over the place. And that's stuff like this, where they're suddenly just pushing this about food shortages and telling us, well, we'll supplement food with bugs. And we could all eat bees, right? Next, they'll be telling us we're going to need to eat manure. And people are going to go, all right, sounds safe. I mean, I've covered that before. They're just going to come out and say, hey, you know what? There's a food shortage. So every time you take a dump, put it in a bag, put it in the microwave, and you got a next meal ready for you. And they will believe it. These people will believe whatever they hear. They don't even have time to think, nor do they activate their brain to do it. So the children are going for alternative proteins that scientists and doctors are telling them that these will include plant-based foods and may involve edible insects, depending on whether they have received novel foods approval by the Food Standards Agency, which is just another FDA, just corrupt organization. When they get caught doing things like approving foods that have a weed killer in it, they never get in trouble for it. They're never held accountable for anything because none of these groups are. The CIA, the FBI, the CDC, none of them. The WHO, no. Can't question them, by the way. God forbid you do that. So these will be the form of conventional mints, which combine plant-based and alternative protein. A study in the Journal of Cleaner Production found insect farms emit 75% less carbon than poultry farms. So this is part of the reason. We're going to shut it down because of carbon. And remember, your carbon footprint, another way that they're going to convince people to allow them to track everyone, so they can really just see what you're doing, what you're eating, and everything like that, and say, well, it's for the environment. We're going to save the world this way. People are going, okay, follow me around. Put a chip in my eye. And they'll do it. Well, it's really going to be in your DNA, but it already is for some. So as people in the UK look towards more sustainable diets, doubters of an insect-based diet will be pleased to know edible bugs are rich in protein, antioxidants, vitamins, and other nutrients. No, I guess we just discovered this all of a sudden. Hundreds years ago, you offer somebody some bugs versus a can of soup, or they would take the bugs. They're like, there's more nutrients in the bugs as of now, apparently, because they just make this up as they go and get more sick and depraved as we go. So the project starts this week and aims to better understand children's understanding of alternative proteins, so the mind control these kids into thinking that bugs are more nutritious, and they're also saving the world at the same time by eating bugs, which could be covered in who knows what, pesticides. I mean, just think of the disgusting filth. Like, hey, let's eat a spider, right? Yeah, that makes perfect sense. So they're going to start indoctrinating them with this week, and instead of just feeding them bugs, they need to mind control them into thinking it's good for them and for the environment. So not only is it good for your body, you're helping your friends and helping save the world. Self-empowerment, constantly something they use. Researchers have teamed up with teachers and hope that the 4 to 11-year-olds, because that's as sick as these people are, they're targeting 4 to 11-year-olds because their brains are absorbing this stuff, will be willing to try out some more exotic foods. Right, and we've seen this too with a lot of these guys on these TV shows going to other, eating bugs and stuff and telling you it's like, oh, it's exquisite, it's exotic, right? Instead of going, huh? Across Europe, eating alternative sources of protein like insects is already the norm. Is it? Is it really? A 2020 study by the International Platform of Insects for Food and Feed found 9 million European consumers had eaten insects in 2019, which with this expected to increase to 390 million by 2030. And there's Agenda 2030 right there. And of course, these statistics, I've always talked about this if you're new to the channel, they're all made up. They're just there to influence you. They tell you what somebody's poll numbers are. It's to persuade you and to influence you. Biden's approval rating, the lowest ever. Trump's was the lowest ever. This keeps causing more division between the left and right. You'll always hear stuff like this because when they say, oh, did you know that 9 million European consumers are eating insects? Then people go, oh, maybe I'll give it a try. Everybody seems to be eating it. They do it with everything. They do it with movies. If they want you to see a certain movie because of the programming in it, oh, it's critically acclaimed. It's one of the best things ever. You're like, we watch it. You're like, what? This garbage? Right? Oh, but you realize there's an agenda behind it. So they give bogus data. Tell people, hey, everyone else is trying bugs. You might as well. It's not scary. Don't be afraid. They say we want the children to think about alternative proteins as real things for now rather than just as foods for the future. So trying some of these foods is central to the research. Although edible insects are for now not sold widely in the UK, they form part of the diet of around 2 billion people worldwide. Yeah, okay. So what are there, 8 billion people in the world? Okay. There's 8 billion people. You're telling me that 25% of the people eat bugs? That means like, for those of, math, I'll probably mess this math equation up, but that means 1 out of 4 people, right? Because, 2 billion, 8 billion people, right? 2 times 4, just making sure the math's right in my head. So that means grab 10 of your friends. You think you're going to find one of them that eats insects on the common? They're just like, yeah, but, did a couple shots of Jack Daniels, went outside and had some cockroaches. Oh, maybe in that case, maybe. But, is you going to call your grandma, you got say you got a boyfriend or a girlfriend, call them, then call their parents, and then get one of their brothers or sisters. You think any of them are eating insects? Of course not. It's just bullcrap data. They constantly will push it. Next year, you'll hear that half the population eats bugs. And then people are like, well, why aren't I eating bugs? Mom and Dad, why aren't I eating bugs? And they'll say, well, we're going to get in more school curriculums. And, nobody will say much about it, really. Maybe a little bit, but, just like I just covered a couple months ago in New York, having this day of, soy food, plant-based foods, which isn't even vegan. It's just literally grown in a laboratory, giving it to kids. No uproar every Friday, just slowly easing the stuff in. And that's how they get agendas pushed and passed. So they're saying the insects are increasingly popular around the world. They talk to talk to scientists and scholars. If they say it's okay, then you do it. And then when people, just like the potion, right? And then when people get sick from it, they just don't address it like we see with our government. Oh, we won't even take a question on it. We won't even bring attention to it, right? Of course not. They say all research for adults and children indicates whole insects are off-putting, but ground-up insects within foods are very acceptable. No one likes the idea of having a crunchy bit of wing or, antenna between their teeth. All right, so, mix it in. You probably already do. I've seen videos where people find this type of crap in their Cheerios, so should we be surprised? We've seen people who are finding graphene in their food, which I've covered over the years. So, no one's surprised. But in fact, they say children were more likely to choose food containing edible insects over unusual meat products on a matter of sustainable credentials if given the option. They say my research indicates, as with adults, that boys are more likely to be up for trying the new foods first, but overall both boys and girls seem to be willing to have a go in equal measure. And there you go, ladies and gentlemen. Say goodbye to meat. Say hello to bugs. You won't just own nothing and be happy. You'll be eating bugs and be happy, apparently. And then after that, if we're still here, they'll tell us we'll be eating our own feces and being happy. And these liberal type people, his hive mind people, I'm just going to start calling them that, which is what they are anyway. Hive-minded people, of course, will all believe it and do it, and they'll feel like they're doing something to help society because they want it to be politically correct, and then they want to post it online, let everyone know because they're zombies and robots, one and the same, and it continues spiraling out of control, and then hopefully somewhere before any of that, the